Hi, I'm Mikaela, and this is Love Mikaela, a podcast where I talk about literally anything and everything I want to. So you can't, only if I get close. You guys see it? I have little hearts, and then there's a little heart here, and then this is supposed to be a heart. I did my best, but the hair is not herring today as much as I wanted to. But you can kind of see it. It's gonna be out of the shot half the time anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But you see what I'm trying to do. Today is the Sunday before Valentine's Day, so that's why I'm all hearts and whatnot. And today I thought I would talk about my thoughts on, because it's so close to Valentine's, relationships and dating and that kind of a thing. Just my personal opinions of stuff. This will probably be one of the shorter ones just because I don't have like a ton to say, but I thought I'd share. It's that time of the year, and I don't know if you noticed, but I did like a rom-com-y kind of K-drama review, and then I think I'm gonna do another like K-drama review that's like a rom-com-y one soon. And then I was supposed to do a review on a drama that was called My Man is Cupid or something like that on Amazon Prime, but it's one my mom and I were watching together, and then my mom got sick a little bit ago, and so we had to pause on watching that, so I won't be able to review that one. I mean, I might be able to by the end of the month. We'll have to see. We'll have to see. If not, then it'll come out later on. But yeah, let's just get started. Currently I am, just background on me. Currently I am in my like mid to late, like I'm about to be in my late 20s, I guess, or my mid to late. I'm in my mid to late 20s at this point. That's kind of my age. Not the hair. Okay, well, if you see it look wonky, listen, I tried. Okay, I tried. Yeah, mid to late 20s right now. And I currently have never dated anyone ever. I've never gone on dates with people. I've never held hands except for like for scenes like acting stuff. Never kissed anyone except for scenes and acting stuff. I've never done any of that stuff. How did I get here? You may ask. Well, I have it written down. Before, until very recently, like maybe within the last couple of years, I've said it before tons of times, so it's not like a surprise. I was very self conscious. I had a very low, little to no self esteem. I didn't think I was attractive. Loads of reasons for me to not really date anyone ever. I've worked really hard at this point to kind of build myself up to the confidence and where I have and where I'm at right now. But I feel like because I'm older and haven't dated and don't have any experience in that, it's definitely something I'm still a little bit hesitant about, and not something I'm like actively like seeking out as of right now, and something that's like a little bit more scary for me. Like, even though I've carefully built up my confidence, I feel like when it comes to that, might not have as much confidence as I would like to, and so it's a little scary for me. So I haven't even really tried recently with my newfound confidence to do anything with the romance department. When I was in elementary school, actually, I was very popular, I guess. Preschool, kindergarten, elementary school. I was pretty popular. Had a few boyfriends. Does that count? Not really, in my opinion, because having a boyfriend in elementary school, at least for me at the time, was we're friends and we held hands. Like, I held hands like once, I think, because we were playing wedding, and we weren't even the ones getting married. We were marrying someone together. I don't know. But I got gifts from my boyfriends. Like, I was friends with my boyfriends. I hung out with them at recess and lunch. We'd be by each other during the field trips. But I don't really count that because I don't feel like that should be counted. That was really just like, we're friends and you're cute, I think, maybe. I don't know. Like, you don't really know that much at that age. Yeah. So I don't really count that. Middle school to high school, literally middle school to high school, I had feelings for the same guy. So like 8 years essentially. Um, it was, I would say I liked him and I was like infatuated with him to a point that like maybe wasn't the best, maybe wasn't the healthiest for me or for him. It's not his fault at all. Like, I feel kind of bad for him at this point, to be honest. Um, I just like saw him, I think like the first or second day of school in middle school, like sixth grade. I like locked eyes with him. He probably doesn't even remember this at all. I locked eyes with him and I was like, and I felt like I'd been like struck by Cupid's arrow. Like I literally was like, oh my god, I love him. And I was like, girl, girl, no, you don't. No, you don't. You just think he's cute. Chill. But I didn't chill. And I liked him and had what is it called? Unrequited feelings for all of middle school and like all of high school. So like 7, 8 years and a little bit into college, but that was mostly because I was afraid to let go of those feelings and move on at that point. Again, I had like little to no self-esteem and I didn't really like myself. And so even if I was open to even if I like didn't like the same person for that long and I'd been open to the idea of maybe having a crush on her or being into other people or dating other people, I like don't think I would have let myself just because I like didn't like myself enough to want to let myself explore that at all. Um like I did have times where I would like kind of stray. I would be like, well, he doesn't like me. So I'd kind of like be have a crush on someone else for a little bit, but I'd always go back to him. It's kind of weird and not really something I'd like to get into depth. Like that need to be its own podcast and I don't feel comfortable doing that at this point. If that's something you guys would want to hear about, like I could talk about it, but like at this point not really something I'm willing to dive into completely because it's like I feel like if I talk about it, I'm going to sound crazy and I might make him sound crazy or people who know me might be like, Mikaela, you're just being crazy, which like maybe I am, like I don't know. But anyway, liked the same guy for a really long time. Nothing ever happened there, much to little younger Mikaela's chagrin. Is that how you say that? I wasn't happy. I wouldn't have been happy with it. Younger Mikaela wouldn't have been happy with it. Older Mikaela, now looking back, is like, thank God that that never happened because oh my God, what a mess, what a disaster it would have been if anything had ever happened there. Uh, really glad that that never happened. Anyway, so that's why I didn't really date in middle to high school. I mean, you don't really date that much in middle school, I feel anyway. Um, and then high school I didn't date because I liked the same guy and he never had feelings for me back, as far as I know. I don't think he did, to be honest. I feel like if he did, like something would have. Anyway, anyway, when I got to college, you'd think, oh, well, okay, you moved on. Well, maybe the first like half a year to a year, probably the first year, honestly, I was still very much holding on to who I was in high school, holding on to all my feelings from that time. It's scary to move out and go into the world and be an adult now, but you're not really an adult. Like, you're an adult, but like, you don't get to do all the adult things in college. And then you leave college and they're like, okay, throw you to the wolves. College is supposed to be like a stepping stool and they don't even really teach you anything for life stuff. And anyway, that's a different topic. But I was still holding on to all those feelings, and so I didn't like move on from my feelings for this guy, even though he basically cut contact with me. Like, I think the last time I talked to him was literally the day we graduated, and it was to say something like, oh, congrats to everyone, and like we took a picture together, and like that's it. Like, I didn't even talk to him. Like, I didn't go to graduation parties. That's another topic. I didn't pick the best friends in high school, or maybe I just wasn't in the right crowd, or it maybe because I didn't like myself that much, so I was just like withdrawing myself. I don't know. Didn't have the best high school experience. For whatever reason, my senior year, both in high school and college, like, was not the best. Outside of school, it was awesome, and like what I learned was fine, but like the people I was with wasn't great. My roommate in college in my senior year was pretty cool, and I'm glad that we were roommates. But that's a different topic for a different time. Got to college. First year was still kind of hung up on this guy from high school. Um, Sorry, I just thought I literally could talk about this needs to be a shorter one. I literally could talk about this forever, but I won't. If you want to hear about all of the stuff drama wise of what happened after the fact and what happened during the time, like I literally have pages of notes of stuff that I wrote down of how I was feeling, what was going on, stuff that was confusing, stuff that I liked, stuff that I hated. Like I've got notes and notes. If you want to hear more about younger Mikaela, like high school Mikaela into college Mikaela, we can do that. But this is not the video for that. This is not the time. And it's definitely something I need to brace myself for. It's something that needs to be asked of me. I'm not gonna just give it to y'all unless I start to run out of ideas. Then I might. Anyway, my second-ish, I think it was my second year. It was either end of the first year or second year of college. I had feelings for one guy. Again, very glad that never worked out because we're great friends, but we could not. No, we couldn't be together. It'd be worse than if I ended up with, maybe it wouldn't be worse, but it would be bad. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. We're good friends, but it doesn't work. Anyway, I liked him, but he didn't like me. And then we just ended up being friends. But the reason my college experience was very different is because my school was very small. I was the second graduating class. It also doesn't exist anymore. They went out of business. I guess they weren't making it's a for-profit school because it's a private school, and I guess they weren't making as much money as they wanted to or needed to. I don't know. But the school was held on a studio lot. I wasn't on like a college campus. Like the studio lot, which is basically like a place where there's like sound stages, there's sets, people are filming there all the time, commercials, TV, film, like all kinds of stuff. They're filming all the time. Um so we didn't have like a normal college campus. Like we were on a studio lot. There's a lot of adults around us. Obviously I wasn't gonna get entangled with any of that because that'd just be weird. And also they're just there for work. And so that one, two, it was very, very small. We were very new school at the time. Like I think there was only 6 or 7 graduating classes in total before they were like, oh, this isn't working, and they like cut their losses. Um, like my junior year was the first time we had people in all grade levels, like senior through freshman. So like my senior year was only the second time ever that we'd had freshmen through seniors at our school, but it was still very small even then. Like I because like it was so small and it was very specialized. Like I was in the acting track, right? We had acting, commercial dance, film and TV, and then later on, like about midway through, I think like my junior year or so, they added a musical theater major that some people were able to kind of like glom onto if they wanted to, but I don't think anyone from my class really did. Like some people took classes in both but didn't major in it. Anyway, if you were on a certain, like if you were majoring in one thing, you were kind of kept mostly with your group of people. Like we were with the same people like for all of our classes all the time. My freshman year, they split us up into 2 classes of acting, and then as time went on, like as school went on, some people started to drop and like just didn't end up graduating, and so we ended up all just in one class together. I think they were like 14, 15, 16 of us total. Some of the same people all the time. Also, mostly girls. It is how it is. And so very few people to pick from in terms of like a romantic interest. And so by the time like we graduate, like even by the time like sophomore, junior year rolled around, I was like, these guys are like the guys that I was with, it's like these are like cousins. Like they feel like cousins to me. I was like, I would not ever be attracted to any of you. Were there moments like again, there was the one person that I had a crush on, and then we just were friends, and then that was fine. And I'm so glad that it ended up the way that it did, because good lord, it would have been so bad. And then there was one person where there was a time where I was like, oh, I think I have a crush on them, and it was like, no, they were just being nice. They were just being nice, and I liked that they were nice to me. That was all. That wasn't actually like a thing. Um, Also, I feel like it's kind of boring when you don't have someone to crush on. Oh well. So there's that. But yeah, very small dating pool in college. And also we didn't have dorms. That's another big thing. We didn't have dorms, and so like basically like you just had to find your own apartment. There was a lot of people, like the school was like, oh, a lot of people will be going here or do live here, like of the one class above us. There a lot of people live here, and it was like the same apartment complex that a lot of USC students were at. So some people kind of like had a bigger pool there, but I didn't move into those apartments because they were kind of expensive for what they were, in my opinion. It was definitely more like dorms, like you shared a room with someone. And then I already had a friend who was at this school who had an apartment somewhere else and was like, hey, do you want to be in the other room? Her and her boyfriend were in one room, and I was in the other. It was like a 2-bedroom apartment. And it was way cheaper. It was way farther away, which was annoying. But I would have my own room, my own bathroom, like my own space, which is what I was used to. And so like I just preferred, so I just went that route instead. So I wasn't around everyone. I'm not a big party person. I'm not a big drinker or anything. I mean, you couldn't legally drink at that time anyway, and I didn't. um I've never illegally had alcohol ever. Haha, fun fact. Aren't I a fun person? I had alcohol before drinking age legally in the US, but that was because I was overseas in a country where being 18, you were allowed to drink, and I was 18, so it wasn't illegal. Anyway, kind of a goody two shoes if you couldn't tell from any of my other videos. Um, so my college experience wasn't normal, so I didn't really date there because the dating pool was really small. I was around the same people all the time. We didn't have dorms. It wasn't a normal college campus. You could go to parties and meet people, and that was how some of my friends met people. And then a lot of people met people through like dating apps, and I just wasn't into it at the time. Again, still did not have the confidence that I have now, and even now, like I'd be kind of hesitant to do dating apps. I don't know why. It just feels like I'll talk about them more later, but I just didn't have the confidence for any of that, and I barely had the confidence to be going to my classes and acting in front of other people and doing things. So, yeah, dating was not going to happen. There was one time like you could be like, "Oh, well the dating pool got bigger as your time went on because more people were coming in." But I had this thing. I still kind of have it, but it's not as bad now just cuz I'm like fully an adult at this point. But I had a thing like most of my life where I was like, I never will find anyone younger than me attractive, and I will never date anyone younger than me because that's weird and gross. Like, that was just how I felt. I think part of it is because I have a younger sister who's 3 years younger. So it's like, theoretically, my thought is like, okay, well, if they're older than my sister, but they're only a little bit younger than me, maybe that would be fine. But anyone who's like my sister's age or younger, like, that's gross. That's weird. Now I'm like, I mean, right now I feel like it would still be weird because she's still pretty young. But by the time I hit like my 30s, I feel like 3 years difference isn't that big of a deal. But I also am someone who like wants to be taken care of I think wants to be taken care of in a relationship to a certain extent, and so I think that turned me off of younger people. So I wasn't into that idea in college of dating someone even like a year younger than me. I was like, oh, that's weird. Older than me was fine by like a couple, like 2 or 3 years. Anything more than that, I was like, oh, that's great. Like I would be most comfortable dating someone my own age. Now those thoughts have changed a little bit and there's a little more wiggle room, but I'm still kind of more of the idea that I feel like someone closer to my age would be easier to date. I don't know if that's true or not because again, I've never dated, so I don't actually know like putting it into practice how it would go. But that's just like my thinking process. But especially at the time when I was in any form of school, my thought process was I only want to date someone my age. I don't want to date anyone older or younger. Maybe older, but never younger. Like that was my thought process. But there was like one moment where there were these two, I don't know if they were sophomores or freshmen. I think they were sophomore. I don't know. Maybe they were freshmen because I didn't recognize them. I kind of kept to myself in college also. Like I had my friends, but that was kind of it. But I was like, I spent a lot of time on the campus because I lived so far away. Every time, even though I moved around in college, I was still like far enough away from the campus that it didn't make sense for me. Like I had really long breaks, but it didn't make sense for me to drive back to my apartment and then go back to school because it was so far away every single time that like, and because of traffic, because it's LA, that I would get like maybe 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes max at my apartment and then I'd have to drive back. And I was like, that's stupid. So I just stayed at school all the time. So I was always like at school eating a snack or reading or doing homework in between classes. Um, and usually by myself because my friends, like their apartment complex was a lot closer. So they could go for for like an hour or two and then come back in the same amount of time that it would take me to try. Anyway, you get it. There was one moment where like these two guys who were younger, maybe freshmen, maybe sophomores. I can't remember if I was a junior or a senior, but I was older. I think I was a senior. It was like beginning of a senior year. They came up to me and they were like talking to me and asking me like, "Oh, like we haven't seen you before. Like who are you? What's your name? Like what grade are you in? Like what are you studying?" Asking me all these questions about myself. Like, "Oh," and then one of them was like they both sat down. Like I don't remember if they sat down on either side of me or if they sat down. I think one was standing and one was sitting next to me, or they both sat down on either side of me. I was sitting by myself doing like homework. I was like, "Yo, what is going on? Like this is so weird." But yeah, these two guys came up to me and they were asking me a bunch of questions. They're like, "Hey, like there's a party like at our friends this weekend. Like if you want to go." And I was like, "Oh, cool." I don't know I don't think I said yes or no. I honestly don't really remember. I just remember there was a moment it was very odd to me that like people were coming out to me to talk. I was like, "What's happening? Like why are you doing this?" I was so focused on like school, honestly, and also because like my self-esteem was so low, like I never would have thought like, and again, I'm not going to say that they were trying to like flirt or like see anything. Like I don't know cuz I didn't ask. Obviously, I didn't ask them and I don't know them. I'm not in contact with them anymore. Um and I know one of them, like I think we're friends on Facebook because like everyone from the school was friends on Facebook. But the other one, I don't even think I'm friends with him on Facebook. Like I wouldn't even know his name, or I might know his face, but I might not. The other guy I know, because he ended up being in one of our classes for a little bit. Not in one of our classes, but he came in like audited like a class once or twice later on. Because we did have some younger people or one younger guy, I think it was only one younger guy who joined our class for a little bit during our senior showcase time. It wasn't him. It was like someone else who was younger than him. Anyway, not important. So I don't even know if they were flirting with me, but if they were, I wouldn't have registered it because I was like I didn't like myself and I had such low self-esteem that like that never would have been something that like crossed my mind like ever. So I didn't date in college, didn't date in middle school to high school, didn't date in college. For all those reasons that I've stated. And then by the time I graduated by the time I graduated college, it was the summer of 2019 when I graduated. I took time off like obviously I was still doing acting stuff, but I took time off of like finding a day job or anything like that because I was like, I need a break because I've been working nonstop for 18 years of my life. Well, more than that, 22 years of my life at this point. So I took a break for a little bit, and then I was dealing with migraines and like that kind of diagnosis and figuring that out because that's kind of when that really kicked in. And then right after that, COVID hit because it was 2020 right after. So I didn't really have time to get a day job, so it's not like I would have like had time to date at work or anything. And I was more focused on like relaxing and resting after everything that I'd gone through, and focusing on acting and getting that picked up a little bit more and like figuring out how to navigate those waters. And then COVID hit, and obviously like I couldn't date in the middle of that. Like we were all locked up for a little while after that. So yeah. And then with work now, because you're like, okay, well, COVID, which it's not done, but it's like lessened to the point where like you could go out a little bit more, and like there's ways to keep yourself safe and the people around you, there's easier ways to do it. Like we know how to deal with it a little bit more at this point. So you could theoretically go date now. Why haven't you, Mikaela? Why haven't you done that? Or why haven't you like met anyone at work? Okay, one. We'll talk about the second thing first. Work. Why haven't I dated at work? One, the pool is still, I guess I just surround myself with small pools all the time. Very small. I think most of the people aren't in my age range at all. Like I think the only person close to my age is this girl who's like so cool. I love her. I want to be friends with her. I think we are kind of friends. I'm not sure. I think we are. We haven't hung out like outside of work yet, but like she's cool and we have like some similar interests, and I just think she's cool. She's awesome. Um but I am, as far as I know, only interested in men. So, and I don't even know like what her like. That's not my business. If she wants to tell me, the cool. If she doesn't, also not my business. But I'm only interested in men, so that wouldn't work out. One, the people who are older, like, are significantly older, or they're just like not even that they're older. They're just like they feel like they're in a different stage of life than I am. Like some of them have kids, some of them are like thinking about marriage, stuff like that, and I'm like, I'm not there at this point. Like, I'm just not. I've never dated anyone. Like, I'm not about marriage. I don't want kids right now. Maybe ever. So, not for me, not the best for me, that little pool. And it's small. And also, like, I work with kids. Like, so I'm not really thinking about romance in that moment. Like, I'm more worried about, like, did that kid wash their hands when they went to the restroom? I sent 2 kids to the restroom 5 minutes ago. Are they coming back, or are they playing around? Did they get lost? Who knows? Oh, I hope some kid doesn't fall. Like stuff like that. Like I'm worried about the kids. I'm not thinking about really anything else at that point. Um and also it's like heavily like it's a pretty female dominated workplace. Um so yeah, the previous statement still stands. Um so it's not like that's really a great place. I also don't think, like, even if there were people that I was interested in, I don't think it would be a good idea because the pool is so small. Like, I feel like you shouldn't really date your coworkers. I feel like that's just kind of asking for trouble, especially with something like this program that I'm working with right now. Like, it would just be bad. But also because it's so small. Like, I feel like you can kind of, you're like, oh, you like the office K-drama romance ones. Yeah, I like those because they're fake, one. And two, I feel like if you work in an office, especially if it's like a bigger office, if it's a bigger office, it's easier to kind of get away with that. Like if you have a bad breakup, especially if they're like in a different department or something, or you don't really see them at work too much, then, and again, power dynamics are important. Keep those in mind if you're dating in your workplace. I feel like it's easier, like if you have a breakup and it was like a bad breakup, it wouldn't really affect your work as much. Whereas with something like this, like because it's so few people, it would really affect work. Like it would be bad. It would just be bad vibes. Like I just don't think it's the best idea to try and actively date right now in my work setting. Like it would just be weird. And there isn't anyone that I'd be interested in anyway at this point. So I just think it'd be weird. And so my other thing is, okay, well, just because you don't want to date at work, what you could still date though. Okay, one, we do still have a pandemic going. I'm also a homebody. I'm a huge homebody. Like I like staying at home. I like watching my K-dramas and hanging out at home, having some popcorn and snuggling up and watching YouTube and Twitch stream. Like I like being at home. I don't like going out too much. And when I do go out, I do wear a mask because I do work with kids. Like when I work with the kids, I wear a mask anyway because there's a lot of them. But when I go out, I wear a mask because I work with kids and I'm around my grandmother, my bachan, a lot, who's older and more susceptible to things. I'm like a really very cautious person when it comes to health stuff. Also, I get like, you could probably hear it, like my nose is all stuffed up. I get like sick pretty easy and I have really bad allergies. And so the mask helps tremendously with my allergies. Like this right now was because, I went out and didn't wear a mask earlier when I went to, like, literally earlier, I just went to, like, put the trash away. And now I'm like this. I'm very sensitive, and so it's just easier for me to wear the mask when I go out anyway. So, one, there's that. And two, the option really is if I'm not really meeting people at work, and I'm not, again, I'm not a party person, so I'm not really a club person. Like, the idea of a bunch of bodies, especially because of like COVID and everything, I've just become, I kind of a germaphobe. I think I already was, and it just got worsened. But like the idea of being in a club with a bunch of people pressed up against me is like, it grosses me out. I like dancing, I like music and stuff like that, but just like that idea. And I'm not a big drinker. I don't like the taste, I don't like how it makes me feel. And also, like, I'm Asian, I get the like flush, but I also get like, I feel like I'm like more allergic than most because I'm not like, I don't tolerate it, like I don't drink it, so I can't tolerate it very well. And I get like very like hot, like I sometimes I get like muscle tightness, it's weird. So I don't like drinking anyway, so it's not like a bar is a good option for me. So with all of those kind of off the list, my like kind of only thing left, and also in just this day and age, is like online dating, like an app. Like I don't mean like online dating like virtual dating, but I mean like dating apps. I feel like it's kind of my only option at this point, and I just don't, they just don't seem like a good option for me. I think I'm just like I'm honestly pretty shy, and while I am more confident in myself than I've ever been, the idea of putting myself out simply to be like, I want to date someone, like that feels so, I don't know if I'm confident enough to do that yet. um and I feel like also a lot of dating apps now are more, I was gonna say mostly, more is probably a better word to use, are more for like quick things, hookups, maybe not necessarily long term things. And at this point, like I've waited this long, I don't really want just a quick thing. Maybe I do, I don't know, because I haven't tried it. But I don't think that I would want something just go on a date and then nothing ever comes. Like, I don't know, I just feel like I'd be wasting my time at this point. Um, so I just feel like I'd be kind of awkward, and like I'm not super dry when it comes to texting or things like that, but I am shy, and if you don't know me, it might be harder for me to try and connect with you through text. I feel like I come across a lot better like in person or like in a video, but I'm also not comfortable like video chatting people. I don't know. There's like a lot of things that go into it that I'm like, maybe I'm just not ready. I don't know. Or I just also feel like I've waited so long. One, I've waited so long that like it makes it more weird that I haven't dated anyone because I'm older. And so like I feel like people might find that weird. They're like, but he might be like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "I don't know. I just like I wasn't confident and I didn't really have the opportunity to." And two, I just don't like, this is another problem, is I don't feel like I have like a lot of time. Really, like I spend a lot of time doing this. I have other projects lined up. I'm acting. I have two teaching jobs at this point now that I'm working. I have to do chores around the house just like everyone else does. I really like my sleep. If I don't get enough sleep, like my migraines and my headaches get worse. So there's that, but I also just really like sleep. And I really like watching stuff and consuming content because I think I think it's inspiring for me, and also it's just fun. Like I just like being in other worlds sometimes. So I just feel like I don't really have time. Like any extra time I have needs to go towards this or other passion projects or acting stuff of mine, or it goes towards my family, or like I'm trying to learn a couple different languages right now. Like I got a lot of like stuff that I want to do, and so extra time has to go towards those things. So I don't really feel like it'd be fair to start a relationship with someone when I already know like, wow, I barely feel like I have time for myself to do fun things I like. Now I have to take time out of that to be with this person. Like I don't think that'd be fair to me or the person I'm getting in a relationship. Like I just don't think it would be fair for either of us. Um so there's that. I also like, maybe it's all the K-dramas I watch, but I have like pretty high standards, I think, in terms of what I, again, this is all like speculation, I guess is the word I would use, because I haven't put any of, it's all theory. I haven't put any of it into practice. I've never actually dated anyone. I feel like I know what I want. Again, feel like I know. I think, I'm pretty sure I know what I want. It's a pretty big hefty list, not list, but like it's like there's things that I'm like that would be like deal breakers that probably aren't deal breakers for a lot of people, but they are for me. I'm not going to go into it right now because I don't think that that's necessary. But I just feel like I have pretty high standards. And at this point, like, I've waited this long in my life and I'm at this age now where it's like, I don't, like, I already feel like I have so little time. I don't want to waste time with people that don't line up with what it is I want in a person and in a relationship and in life in general. I just feel like it'd be a waste of my time. That's not to say that I wouldn't like compromise and I wouldn't make exceptions for things, but I don't want to settle. I've waited this long that it wouldn't make sense for me to settle. Like, compromising and settling for something is like two different things, you know what I mean? Um just making sure I didn't miss anything that I wanted to talk about. Yeah, it's just like it wouldn't make sense for me to lower my standards at this point if I've waited this long and been fine. And you might be like, "Oh, well, aren't you like lonely?" And it's like, yeah, I get lonely from time to time. Like, from a romantic aspect, sure, there's things that like aren't getting fulfilled because I don't have a romantic partner, like affection wise and things like that. But I have like such good relationships with the people who are in my life in terms of like my friends and my family that I don't really feel like I'm missing out on that much. Obviously, there's things that they can't fulfill because it's not a romantic relationship with friends and family. It's just, affectionate and loving. But I don't feel like I'm missing enough that I'm like desperate, like I need it. I have been lately a little bit more into the idea of wanting more romance in my life. Maybe part of it's because I'm watching too many K dramas, or maybe the reason I don't feel like I'm missing it as much is because I'm watching too many K dramas. Who knows? Or maybe it's a mix. I don't know. But I don't feel like I'm missing out too much on it right now. At least for right now. Maybe in a couple years I'll feel different, but right now I'm not super lonely. Like, I've got my friends, I've got my family and people I care about. And those relationships are all good and fulfill me in really good ways and make me happy. Are there things that they can't do because it's not a romantic thing? Because it shouldn't be a romantic thing. Yeah, there's things that they can't do. But am I so upset that I'm missing out on those romantic things? No. Do I miss them a little? Like, do I wish I had them a little? Yeah, of course. I am not in a place where I need it. I'm so busy with work and my other hobbies and the other things that I want to do with my life that maybe I don't have the time to need it or want it or miss it as much as some other people might. I don't know. Maybe I'll never feel like that. I don't know. But I think my biggest thing is I don't want to date someone who's going to subtract more from my life than they add to it. Not to say that like it's purely a transactional thing. It's not, but I think all relationships are transactional in one way or another. Whether it's you're both just giving and giving or you're both taking, or I don't know. Like, there's different like levels and ways to do that. And so not that they're purely that. Like, there's other things with it as well, but I don't want someone who's only going to take away from my life when I already have so many good things going. It doesn't make sense for me to add someone who's going to just take away from that. Um that just doesn't make sense to me. I think it would, if whoever I bring into my life in that romantic aspect is going to need to be someone who can add to my life like a lot. Not that they can't subtract. Like, of course they're going to take my time and energy and effort, like obviously, so they're going to subtract some of that. But I want them to be adding more than they take away. Like, I don't want to be left with a negative amount when they leave. I'd rather, like, I want us to fulfill, like, I want to be that for that person too. Like, I want to add more than I subtract for them as well. Like, I think that's the best thing you can, like, the best outcome of a relationship is that you both add something positive to each other's lives, which again doesn't mean that you don't take away some stuff or that there aren't rough patches, but I just hope that there's more good than bad. I think in general that's a good rule to have, is I hope that there's more good and bad generally in everything. But so in a relationship, like, I'd want someone who adds more than they subtract, and I just haven't had the opportunity to find that, haven't put myself out there to have the opportunity to find that, and also just haven't found it yet. So there's that. Um, maybe like TLDR, maybe my expectations are really high, especially for someone who's never dated and is a little bit older. I don't think I'm old, but I'm like a little bit older. And maybe they're crazy and I'm basing them off of unrealistic things like K-dramas and TV and film. Um, but I think that I want that kind of love. Like, I want that perfect rom-com K-drama love. I don't need that all the time, but I want moments of that. I don't think that that's too much to ask. I think everyone wants that in some capacity, and everyone deserves that. I think you deserve to find someone who loves you and cares about you enough to let you have all those special little moments. And I think you deserve to have someone who you're so attracted to that you get these heart fluttering moments all of the time. Like, I think everyone deserves that in life. I don't want to settle for something that's not that. And again, I know it's not realistic to think that they're going to be like that all the time, because it's just not. That's not how life works. Like, even as a human, like, I wouldn't be like that all the time either, you know? Like, I can't expect that from someone else. But I think you could still get moments of it. I think it's not too much to ask to have that sometimes. And I think people forget sometimes, like, there's real people behind the stories of what's happening. Like, not that the stories are true, but there's real people out there writing what's happening in these stories. If they can imagine it and write it and have it be played out and it doesn't look crazy to everyone, it must not be a crazy thing to ask for. If someone can think of it, it's not that crazy. And that means that there's other people out there, especially if they're like multiple people who enjoy these shows, other people out there who want that as well. And you'll be able to find them and connect with them. So I don't think asking for something like a K-drama, rom-com type of love is too much, as long as you also realize, like, there's other sides to it. Like, it's not going to be perfect like that all the time. But I think it's reasonable to want that some of the time, and I think everyone deserves to have that at least some of the time. Um, so because of all of that, all of these things all together, I haven't ever dated anyone at this point. Maybe that'll change in the future sometime soon. I don't know. Who's to say? I literally don't know. It's not like I'm putting myself out there anyway. But you never know. It could happen at some point. But you know, I'm not going to lower my standards just because it's been this long. I'm not in a place where I like really feel like I need a partner. Like, would it be nice? Yeah, but do I need it? No. Like, I'm in a pretty good place. I have a lot going for me right now. I've got a lot going on right now. I don't have a ton of time. I want to make sure I give them the time that they need and deserve, and the time that I need and deserve. And so, I'm going to be searching for what I want, that K-drama type of love some of the time, and sometimes it's not. But some of the time, I deserve it, and you deserve it too. And if that means that I'm going to be single for the rest of my life and I never find it, then fine. That's what's going to happen. But I'm not going to just lower my standards just because it's been a long time that I haven't been with someone. Like, I think that would be silly. Yeah. But, you know, I deserve the love that I want. You deserve the love that you want too. And I hope that you don't forget that, and that you also don't settle. And if you have someone in your life already, that's awesome. I hope you guys are happy and making each other happy, and that you add more to each other's lives than you take away. And if you don't yet, or you don't ever want that, then I hope that you can add more to your life than you take away, and that there's more good in your life than there is bad. And there's more love than there is negative feelings. You gotta have the good and the bad, but I just hope that you come out net positive, I guess, in the long run. Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on dating. More of a rambly one, so if you don't like those, sorry, but it is what it is. But thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope you have a good Valentine's Day, or if it's just a normal day for you, I hope you have a good, I think it's on a Wednesday this time around, so good Wednesday. I'll probably be making a little sweet treat for me and my mom, and we'll probably just watch K-dramas, if she's feeling better. But, yeah, I hope you have a lovely rest of your morning, day, night, evening, week, weekend, whatever it may be for you, and I will see you next time. Love, Mikaela. Bye. Bye. Oh, let me say yes. I don't know. Bye.